Hey, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. I hope you enjoy. When someone has their sun in Sagittarius, we see a soul that comes to earth in effort to understand, accept, and love the other, whatever that means to them. And their job is to turn around and teach the rest of us how to understand, accept, and love the other. They want the world to feel bigger. That is a quality of Sagittarian love or Sagittarian energy, is if it's good, make it bigger. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet that is the same size as all the other planets combined, but it's filled with nothing but hot air. And so Sagittarius has this tendency from time to time to overpromise and underdeliver. And it's not because you just fall low on their list of priorities that they don't show up. It's that they want to say yes to everything. If they could, they would be everywhere at once, because they're stimulated that way. In order to understand other people, you have to subject yourself to multiple different situations. And this is why they also enjoy traveling, because there is this inner knowing or recognition of perspectives and how limited they can be. And so when they're traveling or they need to get away for a little bit, it's not just them needing a vacation and they're just running around, running away from responsibilities. They are actually doing soul work when they're out there. They're having conversations. They're learning about how other people operate in the world and what they believe and why they believe that. And so freedom is really important to a Sagittarius because it feeds their soul. It contributes to their motive to learn, accept, and love. Now, Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it is Jupiter. So this is someone who feels really positive. They're optimistic, they're expansive, they're typically learned, they have a talent or skill, or there's just something that they know really well, and they seem to have, it's like they're born with this wise old man inside of them. They have wisdom to share with other people, and they often position themselves, low functioning, is like they're preaching at you, but they're a professor of sorts to the rest of us. Now, being the third fire sign, Sagittarius takes the ego that Aries has established, the personality that Leo has created and celebrated, and then goes, okay, I'm kind of done with the social thing. I'm ready for something bigger. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? And so oftentimes they will subscribe to a specific belief system, a philosophy that they've learned, or they have some kind of religious background or religious association. And what you will see more often than not is that they grew up in an environment where certain beliefs were instilled in them. And there happens to be like an aha moment where they recognize either, yes, this is for me and I'm going to build on it, or, oh, I actually think that life works differently. Let me go and figure it out. Sagittarius has a reputation of being hesitant to commit. They like to keep their options open. And the main reason behind that is they're like a wild horse. They need to know that they can go anywhere, that they can explore anything at any time. And the idea of a relationship inherently means that there have to be boundaries somewhere. And they're like, what? Does that mean I have to stay in this stable? They tend to be extreme also. And so when things are presented to them, they'll take it to the fullest extreme. Oh, if I'm in a relationship, I'm just hanging out with you all day, and it makes them feel bound. And that goes against everything that they live for, everything that they stand for, everything that they're trying to accomplish. They have a big mission. They're a universally oriented sign. And so you can see why, as soon as they think of relationship, it's like, no. But what I found is that Sagittarius characters are excellent in relationships, but so long as you are willing to be truthful and to have honest conversations about what the other person needs, and there needs to be a mutual respect and understanding for the other person's agenda. So if you are someone who is independent and you have your own hobbies and your own life going, then this should be a pretty easy match, because they do always come back. You know, they need to touch base. They need to come home. They're not like Gemini, where Gemini has no problem being homeless spiritually. Sagittarius likes a place where it can go back to rest. And so I think that they are good at relationships, but you can't cage them in. If they want to travel for a couple of weeks alone, you have to be able to manage your own insecurity and be like, you know what? I see what you're doing. I support you. Have fun. Have the best time of your life. If you want to be in constant communication with them, if you want to go with them everywhere, unless you're a wild horse too, then you guys can mob together. They just don't want to be stopped. So it's not that they don't like shared experiences. It's not that they need to be independent. They just need someone who's going to carry the same energy as them, because they are very much aware of how people are coming off, and they are sensitive to negative or low functioning energy. And so at the beginning of the relationship, they might tolerate it for a little bit, but they'll be very quick to just say, you know, it doesn't feel good. And they may even create distance and just start doing things by themselves. Another thing is that even when they are in relationships, they are still flirty and playful with other people, because they really just have so much energy and so much curiosity that they can spread themselves very thin. And it's not necessarily that they have more interest in somebody else. It's just like, oh, that's new. That's new. I haven't seen that before. Let me go talk to that. And so kind of having, I don't want to say thick skin, because they're not overtly disrespectful in my personal experience, but you will find them from time to time being flirtatious with somebody else. And it's like, okay, you know, have your fun. And you know when they cross the line, because they're not going to be quiet about it. All other aspects to the side. Pure Sagittarius energy is not going to be quiet about the disrespect. It'll be obvious. It'll be right in front of you. And it's important to remember that it is ruled by the element of fire. And so they need something to burn. They need something to do. If there's nothing to do, if there's nothing to explore, if there's nothing that they're working on that provides meaning and value, they are going to burn themselves out. And because they're so optimistic, they're going to forget what it feels like when they push themselves to that extreme, or when they're unstimulated in that way. So they can find themselves in that rut time and time again. But, you know, you got to feed the fire. Being a sign that's here to learn and understand life deeply and examine life deeply and make meaning of it, they appreciate someone who is also intelligent, someone who is focused on growing and learning and developing, because they want a stimulating conversation. They don't actually get off to always having power or always having authority. They want to feel like their partner is accelerating in their development with them. Again, like two wild horses running together is what they would like ideally. Some deal breakers for Sagittarius. One thing that will immediately turn them off and make them pissed off is if you're not being honest and they know it. If they have collected like evidence towards you, or if they've seen something firsthand, or if they just have a gut feeling that something is off and they confront you and you're nervous to own up to your own shit or to have an uncomfortable conversation, they're not going to like it. And the blessing is that it is a fire sign. So for the most part, they get hot really quickly, but they also want to go back to that positive charge really quickly. So their goal is to like, let's just put it out on the table. Like, what's going on right now? Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling so we can move past it. They don't want to stay in a dark place, especially in their relationships. Another thing that they don't like is, again, being held too tightly. It's like Sagittarius, even though, you know, it's not a water sign, it's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter that you grasp it, it's just going to spill. It's a slippery lover. It has parallels to like the theory of money and abundance. It's a slippery lover. And so it comes to you and it stays with you so long as you are willing to share it. So if they come to you and you're wanting to hold them and keep them and you're just tight and tense, just like money, just like abundance, they're going to stop coming to you because they're for the streets. They're for the world. And so yes, you can't put a leash on a Sagittarius. You just have to trust that they will come home, and they will. Also, if you are inflexible, if you believe what you believe and you're unwilling to at least understand, the bare minimum is just understand. If you are unable to show that you can comprehend what they've learned and what they're integrating, then they're going to find you boring, stale, and unattractive. Another important quality is that they are spontaneous. Sometimes the fire is just lit at any hour of the day, and so they appreciate someone who is adventurous. For example, if you are laying in bed, it's like 3 a.m, and Sagittarius wakes up and goes, "Hey, do you want to go to Japan tomorrow?" The ideal partner is going to say, "Why don't we get up, make some coffee or make some tea, and let's talk about it." Now, someone who's not going to be a good match for Sagittarius is someone who dismisses the impetus to explore, who looks at them and says, "It's 3 a.m. We have responsibilities. What are you doing?" Contractual. It's someone who's tight, right? No. Entertain the inspiration. Let them see it through. Someone who is born with their sun in Pisces has a soul that came to this earth to break down all barriers that stand in the way of oneness. Now, Pisces has a reputation of not having boundaries or lacking boundaries or having porous boundaries. And when you hold in mind what their goal is, it kind of makes sense that it's hard for them to throw up that wall because it flies in the face of what they stand for. They want to bring love and unity to everything. It's a very gentle, loving, accepting soul and energy. Now, this doesn't mean they don't need boundaries, but it means that there's going to be resistance towards them. Once you explain to a Pisces that boundaries exist to protect them and to shield them, it can act as a barrier between people's energy and them. Then they'll be a little bit more on board with the program. Pisces is ruled by 2 planets, traditionally Jupiter, and modern day says Neptune. So you will find 2 different types of Pisces characters. A Jupiterian Pisces, it has a similar energy to Sagittarius, where they're expansive and big and larger than life, but it's via their emotions. And they are a little bit more positive than what you would expect. They want to play, they want to have fun. The other Neptunian Pisces is more introverted. The first one is extroverted. This one is introverted. It wants to look on the inner world, not the outer world, and it wants to expand there. And they're a little bit more reserved. They're focused on like their artwork behind closed doors and their poetry and the ways in which they love themselves. It's kind of like they take that same energy that Sagittarius would in the external world and they project it in their home space, in their private life. And with Neptune Pisces, you often see someone who has almost Capricornian expressions where they fall prey to depression because they get stuck in themselves. They get stuck in their own stories, and the depression manifests. And when depression shows up in someone's life, it's the soul saying, like, I don't want to play this role anymore. I don't want to be involved in this life anymore. And at that point, when you have that awareness, then Pisces can adjust their schedule and use their energy in different ways to erase the depression that they're currently managing. So keep that in mind. Which type of Pisces do you have? A Jupiterian Pisces or a Neptunian? Pisces is a water sign. It's the eldest water sign, but it's also the most sensitive and the most vulnerable. And the easiest way I can explain it is by the symbol for Pisces. It's a fish. A fish has no protective layer. It goes with the flow. It has no choice unless it's swimming upstream, exhausting itself, trying to fight the flow of life. But Scorpio has that stinger. Cancer has the crab shells and those little crabby hands to protect itself. Pisces is out in the open. It is the depository for the collective emotion. Now, they're not going to think about it that way. You're not going to think about it that way. In fact, a lot of what they're processing isn't something that's directly happened to them. Oftentimes, you'll find that when a Pisces is weighed down or they're feeling a strange mood for a reason that they can't explain, it's because of something that's happening out in the world. Now, when this happens, it's important that Pisces meditates. because that is the safest, healthiest way for them to process their emotions. The alternative is that they're paying attention so closely to what's happening. They're paying attention to the mood, the vibes, the smells, the way that you're carrying yourself. They're paying attention to all the things that you aren't saying and try to integrate what you are saying. And it creates this glazed over look as if they're daydreaming. But really, they're collecting so much information that you are not even willingly communicating to them. Now, when this happens, it can create a feeling of overwhelm and they need to leave the room. They are an introverted sign. Specifically, just Sun in Pisces is an introverted sign. And so what it will do in those instances is it will literally escape the room. But then once it's in its own room, it will either meditate and process the emotion, or it will escape through some kind of substance. So smoking, drinking, being on the computer for hours on end, watching TV mindlessly, to the point where they're getting lost though. And so you can create this habit of constant escapism to the point where you're never really rooted or grounded. And so when I say meditation for Pisces, I don't mean, doing yoga, your fingers are like this, you're like, in yoga pants, so religious about your practice. That works too. But what I'm saying is you need to bring yourself into a brain state where you can close the door, sit with yourself, and just feel and rinse. It's this internal process of you letting the waters that don't belong to you just whoosh, go right off your body. So Pisces are mystics. They're mild, right? They go with the flow. Now, because Pisces is a mutable sign, and this is true for all mutable signs, it's equally as important to look at where the sun is placed, like which house it's placed in, because the house will greatly affect this changeable energy. It will give it a more concrete flavor. But just purely Pisces energy is kind of a let go and let God type attitude. And what they're here to do is to develop a relationship with spirit. It could be religious, it could be spiritual, it could be whatever it is, but they are constantly striving to reach spiritual enlightenment. And the way they do that is by taking care of their body, taking care of themselves, but arriving to that space where they can prioritize themselves and their health before others. It's a journey. So this is someone who in relationships is willing to make the sacrifices to show up. They are caring, they're empathetic, they are good with emotions. They can sit with you when you are expressing, like they can see the most terrible behavior and not judge you because they see through to what you are made of, what your soul is, and how much you're struggling. And so Pisces can find themselves in situations with people who are dangerous or the bad boy. And they have this kind of phenomenon, and this is true with Pisces men too, where they like the damsel in distress. They like saving somebody. And with women, it's like, well, if I just show up in this way, and if I just do this, then they'll change, and then the bad boy will be saved. The men are like, here's this damsel in distress. I'm going to help her because she needs me. And so that language can exist with a relationship with the sun in Pisces. So being the eldest water sign, they have the qualities and strengths of Cancer and Scorpio, but they're not focused on themselves. They're not specifically focused on one-on-one relationships. They're focused on humanity, the universe, the ethers. They're going as large and as big as you can imagine. They're leaving this plane in so many different ways. And so some deal breakers for a Pisces character is if you judge or if you try and stand in the way of their spiritual development. Now, I said earlier that they are sacrificing when it comes to relationships. This is not one of those areas where they're going to be sacrificing. A developed Pisces, if you are standing in the way of their spiritual journey, they will cut you off because that is what gives them fuel. That's what keeps them sane. And so if you're not supportive of whatever philosophy, astrology, right before you hello, they're going to be turned off. They're going to think you're closed-minded and they will feel unaccepted. And what makes that even worse is that they are so accepting that when it's not mirrored back to them, it makes it easier for them to step away. Another thing they don't like is if you're disrespectful to other people or if you treat other people poorly, specifically people who don't have the same resources that you have. So if you're rude to marginalized groups of people or if you treat homeless people poorly or as if they're less than, they don't see, or they don't, I mean, they see it, but they don't subscribe to like the hierarchy that people are better than others. In their mind, everyone is the same. They're not going to bow to someone because of a specific title. They understand that when you walk out of your workplace, you guys are just humans face to face. And so if you insist that they take on the beliefs and that you subscribe to what the rest of society is doing, they're also going to turn away from you. And similar to that, if you are someone who lives and dies by your schedule, if you just do to do, if you want your day booked from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, Pisces is going to be repulsed by you in some way, shape, and form, because you're not taking care of yourself. There is no spiritual life there. You're just functioning to function, and you're forgetting to live and to exist. And Pisces needs the flexibility in a schedule, in their day, to go with the flow, because their feelings change. Sometimes inspiration hits them at the most spontaneous time. And if you are like, no, you said you would be here and we have to do this and this and this and this, they're going to feel as if their creativity is being squandered. Like you're taking away something quite precious, and it is precious for them. It's kind of hard to tell when you have reached a deal breaker with Pisces, because they're not so confrontational. Specifically, just Sun in Pisces, all other aspects ignored. They're not confrontational in that way. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. It's more of like a silent, I got it. This is who you are. These are the decisions that you make. And they will just not make time for you, or they won't show up, or they'll cancel last minute. They show that they care with their presence. And so if they continuously reject your opportunity or your bid for attention, it's either that they are avoiding reality in general because they're dealing with something privately that they're probably not explaining to you, or you've just kind of left a sour taste in their mouth and they don't want to spend time with you. But overall, Pisces are really sweet, accepting lovers. And the gift that they bring to you is some kind of like spiritual awakening, or some invitation to go higher, to elevate, to escape this reality that is so prominent and overwhelming. I will say, two fish, opposite directions. Pisces are known, similar to Gemini, they're known to have multiple marriages because they just change quite frequently. And there is this fickle quality and emotional instability, kind of like the ocean, always changing in and out, in and out. There is this quality to them. But that aside, it's not a reflection of you. That aside, when they are there and when they are with you, they want to gift you with whatever they have. That's just the way they are. Sagittarius and Pisces. I actually love this compatibility. They have enough in common to keep it stimulating and exciting, but they do have some pretty distinct differences. So they're both ruled by the planet Jupiter, traditionally in astrology, which means that there's an expansive, optimistic, growth-minded component to their relationship. They kind of see eye to eye that there is more to reality than just what is immediately around us. They want to go up. They want to elevate. The difference is Pisces can go way higher and also way deeper. And Sagittarius doesn't want to go deep. It doesn't want to explore like the depths of their psyche. They want to like explore that mountain or that desert or that country. And so there's a difference there, but they're also both mutable. And what that means is that they're changeable, they're flexible, they're adaptable. They like to keep things open-ended. Let's not commit to a plan. All other placements aside, right? We're just focusing solely on the Sun in Sagittarius and Sun in Pisces. These are people who like to go with the flow and see where things take them. And because of that, it's not hard for them to fall into like a routine where they're like doing things together, but it can be hard to solidify plans for the future, like marriage or throwing a title on it. And it's because they both respect their freedom. They don't like to be contained. They're both a little bit like commitment phobic because they're afraid that if they go into a relationship that they're going to have to sacrifice parts of themselves, and that's not something that either one of them wants. Their interests are different, but they're similar kind of. So Pisces is focused on spirituality, mental health, growth in that area. Sagittarius is focused on its philosophy of life, what it believes, conspiracy theories. And so they're both focused on kind of atypical, higher level things. So they will find simpatico in that, but they will spend their energy differently. Pisces is going to want to engage in watery activities, talking about emotions, mastering emotions. Sagittarius needs something to do, something to burn. They need to work out. They need to be on the move, because fire, if it's not, if you watch the video that I just, right before this, they need something to burn or they're going to burn themselves. And so they got to keep going. Pisces cannot keep up with that energy. They can do it in measured amount of time, but it really depletes their energy in a way they just can't keep up with the Sagittarius. So what ends up happening is they respect each other's freedom. Beautiful, right? Go to your corner, I'll go to my corner, we'll do our thing, and then we'll come back together. Once you come back together, this is where Pisces can be considered clingy or intrusive or just too emotional. And that's probably one complaint that Sagittarius has about Pisces, is that they are emotionally unstable and they don't communicate their feelings, and they're unpredictable in a lot of ways and unreliable because of their emotions are unpredictable, and their emotions are what's ruling their decisions. And so anywhoozles, Pisces will come to Sagittarius at the end of the night and just want to be soothed to the soul. Not to the bone, to the soul. They want to merge in such a deep way that might make a very strong Sagittarius a strong Sagittarian character uncomfortable. Sagittarius is like, whoa, like I can feel your heartbeat, like you're too close to me. Pisces won't like that. Pisces needs to be in bed with someone who is just as deep as they are. And I'll use an example. Let's say Pisces is in a pool and they are in 8 feet deep, or let's say they are 8 feet deep. Now, Sagittarius is 6 feet deep. Respectively, they're both in the deep end of the pool. They're both deep people. The issue comes when Pisces goes down from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, and they're trying to connect with the Sagittarius when they're at 8 feet deep. No matter how hard Sagittarius bangs their head against the concrete, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much they care, no matter how hard they try, 6 feet cannot fathom 8. There is a gap there. Pisces can go deeper than Sagittarius is allowed, unless they have other water placements. And so what happens is that Pisces feels like that 2 feet of them is never explored, understood, or validated. And what happens is it creates distance. It becomes the only thing that Pisces can focus on. Now, again, we know the 80-20 rule, that you should find someone who meets 80% of your criteria, the 20% throw it to the wind, or maybe it's 70-30, who cares? But that becomes something that Pisces focuses on. And so a lot of the times when a Pisces leaves a relationship with the Sagittarius, it's just because the depth isn't there. Another thing I really appreciate about this relationship is that there seems to be a mutual appreciation and acceptance of who the other person is. Sagittarius will always show you where it's at. It's going to lay all of its cards on the table. It has no choice but to be authentic. Even if they try, their mouth will start talking before their brain can stop them. Now, Pisces, if they're living their truth, then they will wave their freak flag. They are atypical people. I am a Pisces sun, and it's all about like astrology and spirituality and yoga. By societal standards, I am a weirdo, right? And because they're both forthcoming about their ego and their identity and what they're working on and what they're interested in, there is immediate acceptance. And there is like this social contract, though it's not, literally written, but there's like this social contract of, I can be myself with this person. Now, Sagittarius tends to have like foot and mouth syndrome, where they can say things that they don't really mean, or they can say things that are hurtful but true. And Pisces is well equipped. I've seen some videos where people say that they can hurt Pisces' feelings, and sometimes that definitely does happen. Pisces is soft and sensitive, and even though it looks aloof, it is listening very deeply to what you're saying. Pisces has more tolerance and overall acceptance to Sagittarius's shenanigans. Sagittarius is very flirtatious and fun and vivacious, and when they see, say for example, they're out together, Sagittarius will, if they see something new, they're like a child almost. It's like, wow, you're beautiful, sweetheart, but wow, that's new. I've never seen someone who was made like that. And they'll want to go over and flirt with somebody. And depending on Pisces' mood, they will either allow that seemingly meaningless that meaningless interaction to take place, or they can be like, you know what, not tonight. I actually want you to stay here. But I do find that Pisces is more accepting of Sagittarius's wild side as it relates to other signs. And I think that's one thing that makes their bond strong and last, because, you know, fire and water, there's typically, by textbook standards, they shouldn't last. But because Pisces is all about unconditional love and acceptance and also prizes freedom, and they share that with Sagittarius, Sagittarius feels safe committing to a Pisces person because they know that they can go. They know that they can do what they want. They know that no matter what happens, Pisces will love them. And in turn, what I've witnessed is that they respect Pisces more and that they value that relationship more because Pisces shows up for them in ways that other people cannot. Pisces, if you're going to be in a relationship with a Sagittarius, you have to go into it knowing that you are going to understand, accept, and support Sagittarius's soul's mission. And that is to understand, accept, and love the other, whatever that is. And you have to protect their freedom. You have to allow them to trot around like a wild horse, trusting that they'll come back. Sagittarius, if you're going to be in a relationship with a Pisces, you are going to have to do some legwork in the ocean. You're going to have to show up emotionally and spiritually. And you will also have to commit to supporting them as they try and reach higher levels of spiritual enlightenment. Okay? Okay. And the importance of this is it's not just selfish reasons. It is their sanity. If Pisces doesn't have a spiritual life or a thriving emotional life, they will start to feel insane. If Sagittarius doesn't have a project or an adventure or something to stimulate them, they will also feel insane. You are protecting someone's vitality, right? And that's what those two people need. All right, toodles.